I do enjoy listening to you, India.
Arsenal win that possession, and it's broken nicely to Cazorla, 30 metres from goal, plays it to the edge of the area. Alexis Sanchez goes for goal and scores. That's a brilliant goal from Alexis Sanchez. He's been Arsenal's star man this season, and maybe now they're going to get the vital win.
Hello and welcome to Gooners in the USA. Mike, I think Harry Styles said it best. Stop crying. It's the sign of the times.
Oh, man.
We got to get away from here.
How low we've sunk from your rap lyrics earlier in the season. Now we're doing Harry fucking Styles.
Well, that's a good song. It's a good song.
I could go for a good song right about now. But how you feeling?
You know...
When does that baby of yours due?
Any minute.
It's
now,
like an 18-month-long pregnancy.
Yep.
It's bizarre.
Yep.
Your wife has the gestation period of like whatever, like a elephant or something. But are you crowning yet?
I started crowning when I found out we were pregnant.
Have you measured your dilation? Did you have to watch those videos where they talk to you about perineal tearing and shit like that?
Yeah, but they also told us not to check that ourselves. I'm like, who the fuck would do that? Like, where do you even start? Do you have a tape measure or a ruler?
I want pictures.
Oh.
So, there's a third person on the line with us, and I believe an introduction would be most suitable be done by you, Andy.
Yes. So today we have Erik from Chicago. Erik is probably one of my favorite human beings on the planet. I've known him for, how long? 15 years now? 12 years?
Yeah, just about.
And, I mean, truly one of my closest friends, stood next to me at my wedding. I just excellent human being. So let's
whole night. Like, I mean, did he literally just stand next to you the entire night? Or
I could tell you some great stories about Erik from my wedding weekend. I don't know if he would care for me to do that.
You don't necessarily need to share that.
But welcome to the pod. We wanted to have you on the first North London derby, but then Mike had to go to it. So
that's selfishness.
What a dick.
And when I go to stuff, I can't handle the complication of
he
a
got
guest.
Food poisoning, so he couldn't.
I didn't go to shit this weekend. Well, I went to a hockey game that I don't remember going to. But other than that, Erik, it's nice to finally meet you. I've been threatened by you and Erik time and time again, but now it's finally time. And it breaks our string of a bunch of guests who are in the media or involved in soccer or football directly, and so I'm hoping we can start to build a lead on points again on our picks, because that hasn't worked out so well for us lately. But
yeah, we've got some catching up to do. But what an act to follow from the last week as well. It's unfair.
Phil was fantastic. I listened to him a bunch of times, both on radio and games, and listened to our podcast over and over again, which I am want to do. But he was fantastic. Deserves all the praise that he got on Twitter.
Yeah.
But shit sports weekend, man. Just
it was
overall.
a great sports weekend, Mike. Not for
No,
you,
not for me.
and not for Arsenal.
Not for some people in particular.
But the Joshua fight was awesome.
Yeah.
My girls won today.
My girls.
Erik's on the pod. Erik, tell us how you became an Arsenal supporter.
Well, I guess my story is kind of like Mike's in that I had a two-part affair. When I first came and played soccer in Chicago, the travel team I was on was named Arsenal, and that was in 98. But at the time, I didn't have cable and soccer wasn't broadcast, so I didn't know enough about the team. And then 98 World Cup, Thierry Henry, and then I kind of liked him from then. And at some point, I moved to Milwaukee in 2005 and met Andy.
I was going to say that's the worst decision you've ever made, to move to Milwaukee.
Milwaukee is a great city. It's great.
And then
I live in Chicago. It's hard. It's hard to compare.
Yeah,
but it's a nice second city.
It is.
In any case, yeah. Andy's.
Isn't Chicago the second city though?
Well, Chicago is the second city. Technically, now the third city since LA's been so huge for a while.
So then that was your first string with Arsenal. Then what happened? When did you lose them?
It was through I guess, No Connection Abroad. That was from like 2000 until 2005. And then working with Andy. And the first video he showed me when I went to his apartment was the Robin Van Persie boo hiss lob at, is it Charlton?
Yeah, the volley, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
The volley. Yeah, I remember that. That was one of the early the early ones from my return as well in 2006. What a goal!
Then, that was it.
What a cunt.
So I'll tell a quick story. So I remember Erik and I worked in a physical therapy department, and we were both in college. And Erik was doing like a summer internship, and then I worked there just while in college hourly. But it was, I believe it was around August or July, and it was preseason. And Arsenal were playing someone, and the only way you could get access, because this was kind of before the whole smartphone thing, there were two computers on the top floor of the hospital.
The lab.
This lab. And you could go on and hit the internet. I remember we were talking about how the game was on, but we both had really busy days. And so I remember I had like a 2-minute break, and I'm like, I'm going to run upstairs and quickly like turn on the internet and just see what's going on.
On
and
the internet.
Because it's dial-up.
I'm going to dial up.
So then I run up there and I open the door, and dude's already in there, like watching the game. I'm like, you're a student and you're just chilling up here. And he's like, oh,
back
wait a
in
break.
the day, we had to use like that Arsenal TV, and I used your login to check it out.
Yeah. Which one of you then gave the other one a back rub after that, or a back massage?
We do like the whole face each other. And
looks like the two kids at the prom dancing, except except you're grinding and beating. Yeah.
Deep tissue.
Deep.
All
Box
right.
of tissues.
So let's move on to the matches.
We can't put this off any longer. We're really trying though.
Well, let's go positive first, because we did have a match on Wednesday against Leicester. So we'll quickly discuss that. We kept the formation, made a couple changes. I think the biggest changes were Monreal taking a position at center back, and then Gibbs getting to come in at that left wing back position, and then I think Coquelin was really the other big switch. So we did rest some players, which was good because obviously we had the North London Derby, and then they played for a long time against City. But Mike, you love a conversation regarding lineups. Tell me, how do you think Gibbs has played the two matches that he's been played this week?
He was all right.
Okay.
Is that the answer you were looking for? He's all right. I mean, what I like about Gibbs is that he's joined the same haircut crew that Chambo and Theo and a couple others have with that. I mean, I'm obviously not – I don't have my finger on the pulse of style enough to know what that's called. But, Hector needs to link up with those guys, I'm sure. But, I mean, Gibbs was good. I thought that the rotation on Tuesday was smart considering – like you said, they had just played 120 minutes and had an important game coming up for the weekend. But some of the guys that were rotated out, I mean, Holding, for example, I kind of would have come back in. Holding in a North London derby, maybe a moment too big for him. But based on his play recently, I certainly don't think that he's deserved to be out of the lineup for 2 consecutive games. And I would hope to see him next Sunday. Again, it's another big matchup, but he's got to learn sometime. And it didn't stop him from playing a Wobie in the first London derby, which was clearly too big of an occasion for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Interesting point on Iwobi before we go back to the lineup, but he had put on Snapchat last week that he has now regained focus and he won't let us down. I don't know what that means. I didn't know he had lost focus. But maybe
clearly he had lost focus, but it's interesting to hear him say that.
Yeah. Erik, Coquelin got some playing time against Leicester. Do you think he is good enough to be an Arsenal player, and where do you rate him in comparison to an El Nini?
Ooh, it's tough. I would love to say he could stay. His story is great, but he can't string a couple of passes together. And, putting him in possession, it's a wild card. I don't know what he's going to do. If he tries to lob it over, they never really make it. And then if he tries to hold it and dribble it, his technical skill isn't that great. But he's got heart, right? You want somebody to play for it. But I don't see him technically being still worthy to play in this side. I like El Neni a lot. He seemed a couple of games ago, to partner well with Xhaka. But I just think we need a better firmament in our midfield. We just can't have two guys who give up possession so easily, which is why Santi was phenomenal, if I'm going to take a tangent. It's a big miss to see that, So we got to have somebody who's got technical brilliance and can have close control of the ball in the middle, and I don't see Coquelin having too much of it.
Either that or be a destroyer, like a Wanyama, or play the position that he played when he did have that successful year where we got recalled from Charlton. I mean, he's doing a completely different job now, and it's a job he's not capable of doing at the level that we need someone to do it.
What I've always wondered is that I thought he was labeled as a defensive midfielder, but he does this all like box-to-box running thing, which I thought those are it's kind of opposites, right? You can't have one and the other. So I never understood what his official position was supposed to be.
And we've talked ad infinitum about whether that's what he's being asked to do by the coach or whether that's just what he's doing once he gets out there. Either way, it's wrong. And
we've seen
lately
him do
he's not
both.
doing enough for DC United. I mean, much less Arsenal.
Well, we've seen him do both, and he's better as a defensive midfielder. Like you said, if you're just going to go out and hunt that ball and chase everyone down and win possession, that's it. But I think what's really interesting over the past 2 months is Xhaka is probably the first name on the team sheet because no matter what the occasion, he's on the team sheet. And so it's finding that partnership, and I think Eric's right. We need to find another Santi Cazorla. Ramsey did not play terribly today, but there's still moments in the game where you're like, what the fuck are you doing? And I know Erik just, he's Ramsey's most number one supporter. Yeah, but it's like we need to find a partnership with Xhaka because he has been just an absolute stud. I don't think he had the best of matches today.
How about against Leicester, which is the game we're talking about?
No, yeah, exactly. But against Leicester, as I'm saying, like there's a lot of games that have been played, and he continues to be put in the team, and so we know he's here to stay. We just need to find that better partnership with him and for him. But let's go to the Leicester because at the end. So
are you saying that Xhaka is starting to bed himself in?
Fucking Bell.
God damn it.
What are you gonna do? Bell's here to stay like Xhaka is.
So, but let's kind of go to the farce of the Leicester game, and then we'll talk about the last 10 minutes. And so Joey Murphy doesn't have a job where he gets to watch the matches, so he relies on me texting him.
You could have just stopped that doesn't have a job.
So Joey Murphy's homeless.
My wife actually asked me, Steph, who's met Joey Murphy, who adores Joey Murphy like I do, asked me today, what does Joey do? And I'm like, you know what? I have no fucking idea what he does.
And that's what he wants,
like really good friends. And I'm like, I guess we're not really that good of friends.
Hey, man, he doesn't want you to know what he does. As far as you're concerned, he's just the playboy.
It's very illicit.
So anyway, he relies on me and Justin texting him throughout the game just to give him a heads up of what's happening. And I could not explain to him the last 10 minutes of this match because it was the whole Sanchez rolling around on the floor, the whole throw-in. I mean, how fucking embarrassing was that, Mike? Sanchez for 10 minutes looked like an absolute bellend. Ding.
Yeah, that's not how it works. That's how you squeeze the excitement out of a game that you're clinging on to the very narrow lead. I mean, you just make it into a circus, and the other team forgets that they're trying to catch up.
So
and starts throwing balls at the face. I mean, you like to talk about balls in the face. And that's exactly what we got from Fuchs or Fuchs or whatever his name is. Not to mention, it was a foul throw. He lifted his back foot.
It was a foul throw.
I didn't even notice that.
To get that extra oomph into the face or neck or shoulder or hip or whatever part of Alexis had hit before he grabbed his face, he actually lifted his back foot. It should have been a foul throw, and it should have been our throw-in, and nothing after that would have come into play.
Yeah, it was pretty. I still can't explain how embarrassing it was, but let's move on to the North London Derby. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's get it over with.
So before we get into it, guys, I want to say this. I want to say this. For 22 years, you have lived in our shadow. You shouldn't celebrate finishing above us for one season because it's fucking embarrassing. Okay? It took you 22 seasons to finish above us. right? Thank you for the memories, though. We won 2 leagues at White Hart Lane. We took Sol Campbell and showed him what a proper football team can do, what they can win. So we appreciate you taking him through your ranks. We'll probably do the same with a couple of your players soon. But no team is more hated in the Premier League than Tottenham. They have a rivalry with Chelsea. They have a rivalry with West Ham because everyone fucking hates you. You're a bunch of useless cunts. And then you go and attack someone because of the color of his skin. It's 2017, and you're fucking throwing bottles at our supporters and racist chants. And to be fair, Mike, the guy's a friend of ours. He's been on our podcast, and it's inappropriate. No way, if, ands, or buts. The security at Tottenham needs to improve. But you know what? It's 20 years now. So if you think that the tides have changed in North London, talk to me when you have a golden trophy. Talk to me in 20 years when you consistently finish above us, right? Let's talk then. Because right now, it's 1 season. So it isn't a trend, it's blind luck. And so let's talk in a few more seasons when you consistently finish above us. You just fucking pricks. Can't stand them. Rant over.
Who are you talking to? You kept saying you. Are you talking to the Tottenham supporters that listen to our podcast?
There are Tottenham supporters who listen to our podcast, Mike. There are Tottenham supporters who listen to us.
Not after today, there aren't. But, yeah,
well, they probably will tune in because they want to hear us mope around and be upset. But you know what? I'm sick of it. It's like the clickbait articles, ESPN, the tides have changed in North. Fuck you, they have not changed. It's 1 season.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And the pub that I watch games at, Ireland's Four Courts in Arlington, it happens to also be the gathering spot for the DC, Tottenham supporter group, which it started very, very small at the beginning of the year, and now there's just a lot more people showing up in their Clint Dempsey jerseys and fucking jumping up and down. And it was 85 degrees today with no air conditioning because the power had gone out earlier in the day. Whole scene was miserable, just a fucking miserable day.
That's rough.
Listening to those idiots, they're learning and singing the new songs at the same time, jumping up and down in their Clint Dempsey kits, like I said, and acting like they just won their 5th consecutive Premier League title. I mean, and then I found out later about the issues outside the stadium, and I haven't read up and followed Twitter enough to know what happened, other than watching the videos of Robbie just getting pushed around and surrounded with this mayhem and racism, which is just disgusting.
Lee had a bottle thrown in his face, and
saw that as well.
A couple Tottenham supporters, to their credit, did step in because they recognized who he was and said, "Leave it out." But let's not talk about that. We lost today. Tottenham, in all credit, are playing well this season, essentially better than us.
North London. Let me just say this: North London is still ours.
Oh, absolutely.
They can have Cricklewood. That place is a dump. You're welcome to have Cricklewood. I'm never going back there again unless I fall asleep again. But the rest of North London is ours, bitches, and you're just going to have to get used to it.
Erik, we looked down and started slow again. What's the deal? Do you think that Arsene is relying on the occasion to get the boys ready? Do you think it's the captain's job to get the boys ready, or do you think he's just lost his motivation mojo?
Since when has Arsene ever really tried to build players up, kind of get them ready for a game? I don't know that we ever see that. I think his mantra has forever been to let the players decide for themselves. When we used to have very strong and tough captains before, the team performed that way. So I think Arsene tries to let people just go about it and hopes, like you were saying, that the players would kind of get themselves ready for this game, and it just never seemed to happen. They kind of had to work for it, and you could tell that there were opportunities that we were lucky to not have go against us, And I guess it always takes that for our team to wake up, and it just doesn't make any sense. We can't push going forward.
So put this in perspective compared to the City game last weekend. I mean, different competition. Clearly, the cup run did something to motivate the players. Is that because of Arsene Wenger? Is it because the players self-motivating? And if so, why aren't they able to self-motivate for a derby, a huge derby, the last one?
Important derbies as well.
Yeah. It's a weird one. It's a weird one because obviously, Mike, as you said, when you're going into a cup and it's the last competition you're in, and you give everything to continue in that competition, great. Like, we've been out of the league now for a couple weeks. from Christmas. But statistically, like, let's be honest, statistically, we're still in it, right? But now we're not. But
No, we're not, yeah.
At the end of the day, that's all thrown out of the window when you're playing Tottenham because of the rivalry, because of the bragging rights, and because of everything else. And we just started so low again today. And Tottenham are a good side, but we're the Arsenal. We should be starting better than them, stronger than them, and we should have that mojo that they're not on the same plane. Why do we start so nervous? It's so bizarre to me, and maybe it's because we lack those captains, as Erik was saying, that back in the day we had 3 or 4 that would probably rile up the troops, and now we've got maybe 1. And does he actually rile up troops? Can Kashoni even speak English? I'm not sure.
Better than Gabriel can, but
Mike, would you have played Monreal at the back, or would you have put Holding in?
I mean, I said on when the lineup came out for the Leicester game, I said, if Holding's been pulled from the lineup because of 3 games in 8 days, and they want to rest him for Tottenham, then that's fine with me. I would have liked to have seen him in. I can't necessarily point to too much individual problems that that Nacho had back there today, because the whole team was just poor. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think Holding needs to play to get his confidence up and keep it up, because he's been excellent so far. I mean, at this point, what the fuck? I mean, stop putting guys in, giving them a taste, and then and then when they're playing well, take them out all of a sudden. Did it with Lucas, doing it with Holding. We'll see whether he plays next weekend. But the worst thing for a guy who's starting to finally get his feet underneath him in a new system and playing well is to all of a sudden sit on the bench for 2 months. And that's kind of how it's starting to look like it's going to be for Holding.
Well, why is he good enough to play against Aguero, Sané, Kevin De Bruyne, but he's not good enough to play against Tottenham? That's what I don't get.
I mean, it's not like the FA Cup semifinal is it isn't a big momentous occasion. That's a very good point. The excuse of, it's Tottenham, he's a little young, you don't necessarily want someone with that little experience playing. Then by that same logic, he shouldn't have been starting against Man City at Wembley, but he was, and he should have been in there again today. But I feel that way more, not because of the way the game went and that it would have been any different, but just for the long-term, confidence of the kid.
Yeah, I mean, he's essentially the same age as Dele Alli, and so I don't think age is a factor. Erik, what are your thoughts on that? Is he good enough to play against Tottenham, and should he have played instead of... I'm not going to say Monreal, because Monreal should have been at the left wing-back role, because he's played so well there, but do you feel like we're saving him? What are your thoughts on Holding?
To pretty much bolster up Mike's point, at least if he's good enough to play in the FA Cup, I guess that's your point originally, he should be playing in this game. And to think about it this way, would you rather have Holding in a center back or Gibbs at left back? Because those are your 2 options, right? Mm-hmm. So in terms of stability and if nothing else, skill and confidence, I'd much rather have Holding in there, at least how he's performed in the last couple of weeks, which means that Monreal can play out left and help out Alexis more on that left side and kind of venture forward. It just doesn't seem like Gibbs has it. So I'd much rather have Holding than Gibbs. So Holding should have started.
Yeah.
Guys, why is Olivier Giroud continuing to start in this team? He hasn't done anything of late, and so I'll go to Erik first. I mean, what are your thoughts there? It doesn't appear to me that this formation plays well for Giroud. I thought that when you play a team, let's go like Middlesbrough, right? We're going to have high possession. We're going to be countering quite a bit. We're going to be knocking in crosses. So Giroud seems to make sense to play against that type of a team. When you're playing against the City and or Tottenham, especially with our lack of confidence, you're now playing against a team that are going to hold possession and we're going to counterattack against. He's not the counterattacking type of forward. So, Erik, why do you think he keeps getting into the squad? Is it because he's French? Is it because he can hold up play?
Blackmail. Straight up blackmail. That's it.
That's where I was that's where I was headed.
There can't be any other reason. I just don't get it. We're not a team, and especially now that we don't have people playing as far wide, we're not a team that crosses. Mm-hmm. We never really have been. We
don't even cross when we have a corner kick. It's ridiculous.
But there's something that was jokingly called the arc of death, where if you start on one side of the box, you kind of pass it around in this circle to try to find a player to cut in, and that's all we do. We really just pass it from left to right, back and forth, and no one cuts, and you don't have any crosses, so Giroud can't help us in any function. We need quick players to dart in and cut the line.
Yeah. This would have been a perfect game for a Lucas type of player who's just going to devastate the back line. But you know what? In the same breath, Welbeck could do the same. Theo could do the same. Just use speed and use the ability to run to and fro. Well, Theo couldn't. That was a stretch. Mike, did Ozil play today?
That is a good question. I have no clue.
I tweeted right before the match, this is the type of match where Ozil needs to show up. And yet again, he's been poor.
Wait! I do recall seeing him placing the ball in a corner kick that like a couple inches outside of the arc and getting reprimanded. Wasn't that Mesut Ozil?
That was. And that was pretty much the only contribution to the match.
Yes, that and for that he gets a 6.0 whatever rating, Opta rating for corner kicks. I mean. Just to go back to the conversation about Giroud up top, it seems to me, and you know how I am with tactics, I don't know anything about them. My relationship with tactics is very, very on tenuous ground. But it just seems to me like anyone other than Alexis up top is a mistake with the people that we have. I mean, we have a bunch of second stringers. I'm sorry, but if you're a top team, these guys are second stringers, and they're playing in a position where you got to have a stud. And Alexis was doing that just fine earlier in the season. And unless he basically said, I'm done playing up top, I want to be back on the wing again, which I doubt. I mean, I think he's happy wherever he's put. I just don't get it. But we don't have another viable option, and we just keep trying to plug in Giroud, who's not doing the job, and Welbeck, who, frankly, I don't like him up top. I like him on the wing better. And it's about what I like.
Well, but to that
it's
point,
all about what I like.
Well, and to that point, Mike, if you do allow Welbeck and you want him to play on the wing, then that pushes Alexis up top. So to your point, Giroud shouldn't be in the starting 11. Put Welbeck on the left and throw Alexis up top, and you're a more dangerous team.
And maybe Alexis doesn't lose possession 95,000 times a game because he's getting it deeper up the field.
Yeah, and I feel like when you bring on a Giroud, that's when you bring on a Bellerin, a player who's going to bust his ass to get down the line and cross the ball in. And it's kind of like for like. You want to bring those two on at the same time. I just don't know why we go into a match with Giroud as the strike force. I don't get it. But now let's go back to Ozil, Mike. Where was he today?
He was in Cricklewood, as far as I know. I mean, he might as well have been. It was just another completely anonymous performance. Again, there was one player on the pitch today that played well for Arsenal, and sadly, it was the goalie.
Mm-hmm. And the woodwork.
I mean, I'd said that we were going to get greedy and play a two at the back with no goalie. I was wrong because we clearly needed a goalie today, or it would have been 6 or 7-0. That Petr Cech's play, frankly, the last couple weeks has been massive, and I don't know what that injury was that he got a couple months ago, where I thought we'd never see him play again for Arsenal. But it's done wonders for his game, whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
Does that answer your question?
It does. Sorry, the wife's calling me. I just had to ignore her call.
What is she? Your 8 month, 29 days, and
yeah. If she calls back, I might have to pick up. So, Mike, to your point, we were really unlucky not to be down 3-0 at half. Czech made some fine saves, and the woodwork came up a little bit as well. Going into halftime, you would think the boys would say, "Okay, it's 0-0. We've had luck on our side, but we need to get ourselves up." Erik, again, we looked flat coming out. Ali gets a typical Scum goal, but the penalty, is it a dive, Erik?
I'm going to have to side with the ref on this one. I don't think it was a dive. I really don't. I thought there was contact in the shin, and I hate to admit it, but it looked like there was contact.
So
yeah, I agree, actually.
Ian Wright said, because I listened to 5 Live right after, and Ian Wright said that he didn't think it was a penalty until the trailing leg came in. And the trailing leg is that gray area of players saying, well, they didn't fully connect and the ref didn't say it, so I'll trail my leg and get caught. I thought the same thing. It looked like a penalty in real time, but I don't know. I mean, Harry Kane is a cunt, and he likes to cheat, so I thought that he dove.
Yeah, there is
and
that.
He's a cunt.
What I'm more frustrated by... Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was saying, he's a cunt and he gets away with it, which most cunts don't get away with it, like Diego Costa. They get a reputation. But for some reason, these cunts are beloved by everybody who decides before the games who's going to win and who's going to lose.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. The overall performance is just it kind of sums up our entire season. A few glimpses of hope, but pretty much just down. And there needs to be change, not just at management, not just at ownership, but there needs to be change in player personnel as well. These players aren't good enough. I mean, we fucking waited 80 minutes to sub Rudolph when we brought Theo on. I mean, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's like trading gonorrhea for what's another one?
I don't know. But...
I mean, it's not a good. It doesn't instill good feelings in you when you see that board go up and you're bringing on more shit.
So, talking of shit, Arsene said that by the end of March / April, we would know his future. It's May 1st tomorrow. So we still don't know what's happening. And I'm going to go to both of you, but Mike, I'll go to you first. Where do you think what do you think's happening now? From you're a supporter, do you think he's leaving? Do you think he's staying?
First of all, he didn't say March or April 2017.
True.
He wasn't.
Semantics. He did not. He did not.
At some March and April point, we will know about his future. I still think that he's re-signing. I mean, I kind of don't believe now that he's re-signed and it's done and they're just waiting to announce it, which was my the popular theory, of which I completely bought into a couple months ago. I just can't imagine him walking away. Clearly this. Maybe he would have announced it already if we weren't in the FA Cup final, but he just doesn't want to announce and commit to something before that point. But it completely goes against everything that he said before, which is that he knew what his future was. He would tell us when it was time, and like you said, he would make that announcement 2 months ago. So it's unclear, and someone at the pub today pointed out, which many people have, that the uncertainty about this has got to be having an impact on the team's performance, and I don't see how that can't be the case.
Erik, would you agree with that?
Publicly or privately, his future not being known cannot be a positive motivating factor for the players.
I agree 100% with that. I really do. I thought there was a period maybe 3 weeks ago where the team came out. What game was that? I felt like there was, what Arsene said, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. The team had a meeting. They came out and did really well. Mm-hmm. If there's something said, or at least if it's dealt with, it seems that they can at least pull something together because it's one less thing to worry about. So the mystery of the unknown, it's damage to everyone. It really is. I don't think it's helping at all, and the team is suffering for it.
No, I agree. I do. Sorry, the wife's calling again.
Well, you might want to get that because maybe
I'll
you're going to maybe on air.
No, I'll text her. You know what? She knows Eric's on the pod this week.
Is she calling from the hospital?
Yeah, right? No, she's at a party right now.
On her way to the hospital?
Yeah, a party at the hospital.
It's a perineal tearing party.
Oh. Erik, I want to ask you because we have different...
We're going to lose all of our female listeners because you're not fucking answering your wife's call right now when she's 9 months pregnant.
Or possibly because you talked about having a perineal tearing party.
Yeah.
That possibly could do it.
Mike,
Look,
we only have 3
it's a very
female
celebratory
listeners.
event.
We've got your mom, my mom, well, we're going to have soon-to-be Eric's mom, and then Becca.
Yeah, and I don't think a little perineal tearing is going to keep her away from us. She's a fan, as are we.
So,
can we get this back on track, please?
Erik. I'm going to ask you 2 questions. You can answer yes or no to the first one. You can go in depth. You can go on a rant. do what do you. The second question I'm going to ask is a fun game. So here we go. Is it time for Arsene to go? And if it is, who would you replace him with?
Oh, God. Questions that have never been asked before.
But not to Erik.
I'm going yes and Allegri.
He just re-signed with Juve.
No, when?
Yeah.
And I think this week he extended for another
till 2020, but that
right.
means nothing. Gareth Bale extended with Tottenham, and then he was sold like 2 months later. So
yeah, but players and managers extending their contracts are a little different. Because
yeah, no, not though, because Mike, if you extend a manager's contract, then there could be specifics in there where, let's say he does leave.
Or a small club like Arsenal comes to pluck you away from.
It could include like, hey,
club.
you're not going to take players with you. It could be if your future club makes it to the Champions League final, you US X amount. So there could be, like Erik said, stipulations. It could be the only reason, because maybe he did go in and say, hey, I'm done at the end of the season. Maybe he didn't. Who the fuck knows? But Allegri is pretty much it's the Allegri game. It used to be the David Moyes game, as the Tuesday Club used to say, and now it's the Allegri game.
Yeah, it used to be the Klopp game for a little while.
So, with all the matches today going the way we needed, we shit the bed. The league table is looking more and more like top 4 is going to be out of the question. We're 5 points behind United. 6 behind City and Pool. We have a game in hand in all 3, and we play United at the weekend. So it's looking like 5th is probably going to be the highest we can finish, based on how we're playing and how everyone else is. Guys, do you think Kroenke will look up from his mustache if we're not in the Champions League, or do you think he doesn't give 2 shits because he doesn't know what the Champions League is? Erik.
Who did you ask this? I wasn't
Both of you, but Erik answer first.
Sorry, I'm on the phone with your wife right now. I'm on my way to the hospital.
Dick. Such an asshole.
Oh, yeah, he can ride that mustache off into the sunset. He needs to become part of the team or leave. That's it.
Yeah, I've said it before. He is just going to adjust the expenses side of the ledger if the income side of the ledger goes down. I mean, that's Stan Kroenke for you. I hate to use complicated accounting terms, but yeah, I mean, I happen to think that when the 40 million or 50 million pounds doesn't show up on the receivables side, the payable side just goes down, and that means we sell a couple players. It means the type of player we bring in is the type that make $30,000 a week, like Rob Holding. Which, again, I mean, you could do a lot worse than Rob Holding, but if you're only signing Rob Holdings, you're not going to win anything. And we're just not going to be going after those players that are earning 100, 140, 180, 250,000 a week, because we're not making that money. Not making that money.
No. Let's go back to Arsene really quick. I don't know if you guys saw it, but he did leave a press conference or an interview early this afternoon. And so
was his wife pregnant?
She just texted. She's just on her way home. She did say hi to Erik. God damn it, Mike. Now I lost my train of thought. So anyway, Arsene leaves the conference early, and he was getting frustrated by the questions. And I'll be honest with you guys, the questions weren't anything like, hey, are you leaving? Tell us about your contract. It was about the match. And as he's walking off camera, you hear him say, you told me it was going to be a short interview, but you asked 17 questions. And ESPN left that little bit in there, which was really funny because the presenter is now on camera just looking super confused. But what I really liked is when 5 Live interviewed him, they said to him after the match, because dude's losing the plot now. Why he enjoys doing this anymore, I don't know. But BBC interview him after, and they say, do you think it's a penalty? He answers, yes. Do you think Harry Kane dived? Yes. Did you talk to Michael Oliver about it? And then just this flat tone, he just went, I don't talk to Michael Oliver, and then walked off again like a robot. I mean, how does the guy enjoy his work anymore? He's so
God,
rich.
Beautiful.
Go retire with some big tittied hose and just enjoy life. You know what I mean?
This is
spread it around. Put some girls through law school. That's all I'm saying.
The crazy thing about this is the thing I like the most about Arsene Wenger. When he's pushing people around, slapping people, telling them to fuck off. I mean, this part of Arsene Wenger I actually like.
But why can't he do it in the locker room?
That's true.
Like, why can't he bring that into? Like, oh fuck, I would love to just see him flip a table in the middle of the locker room.
Yeah, that's clearly not happening.
No.
His bones are too brittle to do anything that extreme.
That's true.
So, you guys, do you want to talk about the North London Derby anymore? Should we move on?
Can we not?
Yeah.
Can we please not talk about it anymore?
Sunderland got relegated, guys.
Who saw that coming?
I know. That came out of the blue.
I remember how happy they were last year when Newcastle got relegated and they stayed up, and it's just it's always a nice thing. Yeah, if I had to choose between the two, I tend to favor Newcastle. I've been to their stadium. They're a lot of respect for their supporters, and it's nice to see them passing Sunderland on the way down on their way back up, unless of course they get fined like 15 points for tax evasion or whatever it is that they're being investigated.
Well, Newcastle are on the way up. Brighton are finally coming up. It seems like they've been flirting with the Premier League for seasons now, so it'd be cool to see a new team. It looks like Burnley are going to be safe, and I don't think any of us would have thought that going into the season. So we'll get to see them again, and
shows that you can achieve safety without winning a single away game. Although
they did win yesterday.
Today
they did win.
Yeah, yesterday.
This weekend, finally, they won an away game. I think it was the first one.
Yeah, no, I mean, good for them, right? They get to stay up. But as far as the league table goes, we are 2 points above Everton, gents, with 2 games in hand. And it looks like Borough and Swansea and Hull City are going to be scrapping for those last 2 spots. So
I know this is far-reaching,
mm-hmm.
but if we win out, which is crazy, we only need City or Pool to draw a game.
If we had won today, we could have finished third to win out if we won out.
So if we win out and they both draw and or lose, Eric, what's the highest we can finish?
If either one of them draws only one, then we can finish fourth. But we have to outscore them.
If we win out, Man United automatically will have dropped 3 points because we play them next week.
Right, but they're in 5th, so
yeah. It's not looking good, but I don't think it's completely out of reach. I think and it would be very Arsenal to just on the last day of the season back into 4th place and then everything's just okay again with the management. Papering over cracks.
Does Arsenal beat Jose Mourinho next weekend?
If it's just between the two of them, no. And if it's between it's going to be toxic next weekend again. There's been a couple weeks break, I think, where the atmosphere hasn't been that toxic. It's going to be toxic again next weekend. Let's face it. And I don't believe that should have an impact on the team, but I don't think next weekend's going to go that well. I just don't. And the Mourinho thing is just makes it that much worse. But it's going to be a fiasco next weekend.
So we've.
I do love.
Sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I do love reading Mourinho's asshole comments, though. It just lets you know who he is as a person. When he talks shit about Arsene.
He'll start him today as well.
Right? It's going to start so quickly. I kind of can't wait for it. But yeah, Mike, I'm not ready for next weekend. It doesn't think it's going to go well.
He'll pull out the Tottenham stuff. He knows all of the sensitive spots, and he's going to start ratcheting up the dickery any minute now.
Well, we have a pretty favorable run at the end of the season. So we play United, and then we have Southampton, Stoke, Sunderland, and then Everton. And when you look at that on paper, Southampton's have always been a banana skin for us. But, outside of United, you're looking at 3, 6, 9, 12 points. I mean, I think they're 12 easy points.
You would have said that before the games against Watford and against Crystal Palace.
Exactly. But as I was about to say, like on paper they're easy, but this fucking team. But do you think going into United he stays 3 in the back?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he made a massive change to his formation, which no one would have expected, and hell, if he's going to double back on it now, he's
you don't flippantly make that move.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't. If you were like a manager who adjusted on the fly and it made sense to make that move in the middle of a game, you would do that. But he's made his change, and I think he's sticking to it now.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
To be fair, didn't he switch to 4 at the back at the end of the game today?
I was barely watching at the end of the game today.
Yeah.
I was just
I gave
staring
up after
over
the
at those.
penalty.
I was just staring at those Tottenham fans, just smoke coming out of my ears and my nose, and just telling my wife to hold me back because she's stronger than I am.
Oh, man. Well, there it is. There's the 2-game recap. Can't the end of the season just be now?
Yeah, that would be nice. In fact, let's just end the season right now. What we can't end the season about, though, is, you know what, Andy?
I know.
Pick'ems. Now, let's get to business because
Unified front, Eric. Unified front.
Our fans have been demanding accountability. You have been demanding accountability, and you have your lawyer and your doctor both on the phone on the pod with us now. Let's discuss the level of collusion and cheating. Not collusion, because you can't collude with yourself. Although I've tried many occasions. What are your findings, attorney at law Erik?
Let it be known that I subscribe to the Charlie Bird Law School of Law before we get into any of this.
So are you able to certify the electoral college for us with these results?
Lord. I can attest that there has been no cheating done.
Nice.
I have one Michael.
Nice.
Although Andy did insist that he would like there to have been.
Well, let me just say that bird law is not governed by reason, so you're bullshit. Just go back to being a doctor. God damn it.
Fake news, my friends, fake news. So, what's also fake news is the fact that Andy is leading the picks because we had our lovely guest Phil Shane last week pick up 4 points out of 6 games, whereas Andy and Mike, as I talk about ourselves in the third person, just managed to get 2 points out of 6 games. Like I said, we need to stop getting these educated soccer football with Erik. But so yeah, it's now 89 points, Andy. 89 points guest spot and 86 points Mike. So I am bringing up the rear, but it's not over yet. Not over yet. This week we have 5 games for next Saturday and Sunday, or actually it starts on Friday with Tottenham at West Ham. And I'm just going to have to go 4-0 Tottenham. West Ham kind of suck. And they're worse at home. So 4-0 to Tottenham. Andy.
I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham.
Ooh.
Whoa.
If we can't spoil the fun, let's let West Ham spoil the fun.
Well, West Ham are no Newcastle, though. Let's just be clear. And Erik, what do you think?
I'm going 3-1 Spuds.
All right. 3-1 Spuds. Okay. Andy Carroll, obviously, with a goal.
With the 1, of course.
Yeah. Palace at Man City. Palace have been very good lately. They've stolen some points from some top teams, even including at their stadium. But this one, I see it being a high-scoring affair. I'll go 3-2 City. Andy.
I'm going to go 3-0 City. Palace is shit. They just got lucky.
Got lucky against Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Erik.
I'm going 2-1 City.
2-1 City. All right. Everton, or as Erik says, Everton at Swansea. Haven't really even given this one too much thought, but I am going to go with 2-1 Everton.
Yeah,
not being all that great on the road.
There's nothing that Swansea could do to beat Everton. Everton are a good side, and it's going to be nice to see them play in Europe next season. So I'm going to go 2-0 Everton. I'm going to go Lukaku scoring both goals.
Wow, look at some detail, rare detail from Andy. starting to act like a second-place guy.
And we might, for the listeners, we might have an Everton supporter on after the Everton match.
We might?
Yes.
Okay. Is that going to be you?
No.
Are you switching on us?
But my cousin listens to every pod, and he's a diehard Everton supporter, and he keeps saying, will you let me come on? And I was like, as long as you're not a dick. And I still think he's planning on being a dick, but it might be fun to get him on. So if we win, we'll bring him on.
After the last game of the season against Everton?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Eric, Everton at Swansea.
Andy stole mine. 2-0.
But who scores the goals, Eric?
Oh, God. Let's go own goal and Lukaku.
Oh, okay.
Nice. By the way, did you see that free kick today in the Manchester United game where the dude went back into the perfect spot to save the kick, and then
De Gea said, get out of here?
Warned him off and said, what are you doing here? It's like, I was going to save that, but no. Pretty funny stuff. Southampton at Liverpool. It's the bowl the derby of people who all used to play for Southampton at one point. And I got to say, I think this one is going to surprise. I think it's going to be 2-1 Southampton. It's my upset pick of the week.
And I'm going to go 1-0 Liverpool.
Okay.
Probably a little bit more reasonable of a pick. But, Eric, what do you got?
I'm going 1-1 draw.
Okay.
Ooh, the old draw. No one does that enough.
No. And I even said that I thought that the Manchester derby was going to be a draw last week, and I should have stuck with it. But Manchester United at Arsenal. It's going to be 2-0 United.
What?
2-0 United. Sorry.
Quick story about Erik.
I'm trying to win this thing. I'm not trying to boost up Arsenal
feelings
through my picks. I'm trying to win this thing.
So,
you know what's stupid? I bet on Arsenal, in Vegas this weekend on my heart and not against reason at all, and lost a lot of money.
Yeah, I just lost a lot of respect for you. That was Andy.
So,
are you going with the homer? Are you going with the homer?
I am, but I'm going to give you a quick story. So, Erik, I don't know why we did this, and when you look back on moments in life, you just wonder why. But Erik and I decided we'd go see Manchester United versus, was it Chicago Fire?
Yeah, at Wrigley Field.
No, it was at Soldiers Field.
Oh, Soldier Field.
And we bought tickets not knowing that we were sitting in the Manchester United end. We were just fucking...
It was awful.
It was the worst experience I've ever had in a football match.
Were you all decked out in Chicago Fire gear?
We just went neutral.
Such a thing?
We didn't wear anything.
No affiliation.
You were nude.
We
didn't wear a fucking thing.
No, we didn't. We went neutral, but do you remember what happened? We went to that football store to look at some kits, and there was a Tottenham supporter working in there, and he started quoting us stats from the history of Arsenal and Tottenham. The motherfucker took them from FIFA. He was giving us direct quotes from FIFA. That's what your fan base is.
Echo.
Today's youth, man. I'm telling you.
God damn. I just don't see Arsenal winning this match, but I don't see us losing it. I'm gonna go 1-1 draw. I think that Mkhitaryan scores an onside goal from 14 yards out, and Rashford dives twice, and Petr Cech saves both of them.
God, now I know you're on something.
Mic drop.
Well,
maybe you should call your wife and you should go to the hospital after that one.
So your homer pick is a draw. It's not even a win. That's how bad things have gotten. Eric, let's finish this off with what you think.
Shit. I'm going 2-1 United. Yeah, I just don't see Arsenal as a bounce back team. They rarely do that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean
well, we do it for playing Sutton.
Yeah, we bounced back from the Sutton
lose,
game.
and then we beat Lincoln.
Yeah, that was our bounce back game. We beat Lincoln.
Here's a question, quick. If we win the FA Cup, the Europa League spot, does that go to someone in the Premier League, or does it fall to someone? Because it would fall to Chelsea, but because Chelsea are in the Champions League, does it then fall to the next best placed team in the FA Cup?
Wasn't there like a Europa Cup spot that went to like the Fair Play Champions or some shit
Well,
like that?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the FA Cup because that position's got to go somewhere, and I don't know, does it go to the league or it wouldn't go to City because they're going to be Champions League. It's not going to go to Tottenham because they're going to be Champions League. So does it go to Lincoln?
Lincoln. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because we beat them in the quarterfinal. Like, who does that spot go to?
I'm going with Lincoln.
Oh, wow.
I would want to
take that.
No, it won't go to Lincoln.
But then who does it go to? Does it go to the next best placed team in the Premier League?
It goes to Brighton. That's what I'm going with.
Take it seriously.
I don't know. I don't know the answer.
That's why I'm wondering. Does it go to Lincoln?
Listeners, if you know the answer to that question, please tweet us when you finally get around to listening to this because we have to know. We need to know. And none of us have access to the internet to find out. So, another local Gooner meetup. This one in my own backyard next weekend. It's called Virginia is for Gooners, and we'll be hosting people from various areas in Virginia, D.C., probably some folks from Maryland, and a handful of out-of-towners. Certainly not the size or the scale of a Gooner Gras like we had a couple months ago in New Orleans, but I love these things because they just take your mind off of how pathetic and sorry the state of the team and its fans are. And it's just a weekend of just having fun and enjoying friendships made through Arsenal. So, once again, it's coming at a very good time the week after the derby, whereas last time it was in the middle of another bunch of shit. But so that'll make the pain easier to handle. But that game, I fear for it. I don't think it's going to go well. I do not. Have I mentioned that?
No. If the FA Cup winners finish in the top 5 of the Premier League, their ULE or UEL group stage place will go to the next highest ranked team not qualified for UEFA competitions in the Premier League.
So would that be like West Brom or some shit like that?
Probably. If the EFL Cup winners finish in the top 5 of the Premier League, so Manchester United, their spot will go to the next highest ranked team not qualified for UEFA competitions in the Premier League. If Manchester United win the Europa League, the winners of the qualify for the Champions League, so they would go straight in. And then it goes into what happens if Manchester United...
So does the fourth spot go away then?
I don't know. So if Man United and UAL finish in the top 4 of the Premier League and the top 4 Premier League teams are qualified for the Champions League unless winners fail to do so, there's a bunch of shit. You know what, Mike? You said that none of us had access to Google, so I dialed up the old internets, and this is what I found.
Make a more condensed version of that.
Yeah, that was wishful thinking. I was hoping that wasn't going to happen.
Moving on.
Speaking of the internet, I mentioned last week that that I finally learned how to check where our listeners and viewers of audio, which is also called listening, come from, and it added 13 more countries to our total. It's hard to believe that anyone listens from these countries, but I'm going to quickly whip through them because we're up to 85 now, Andy.
That's awesome.
Bulgaria is one.
Oh.
I'm sure the person who was listening to our podcast was smoking as they listened to the podcast. There's about 98% chance of that. Morocco.
Oh.
So we got Shamak. Got Shamak. Macedonia, which I believe is somewhere in the neighborhood of Greece, but not Greece. Argentina. Finally in the house.
Messi.
And
hello.
Argentina. I will actually
Bonjour.
be in Argentina in 2 weeks. I'm there for 2.5 days. It's ridiculous. It's
Are you
take
going
longer.
Nazi hunting?
No. I'm going to find those sons of bitches. No, I'm going to my brother-in-law's wedding, and we're literally going to be there for 48 hours. It's ridiculous.
Wow,
it's going to take us longer to get there and back.
Yeah, how long of a flight is that?
It's too long. But then we have number 77 is Bosnia. We could not get anyone from Herzegovina apparently to listen, but Bosnia we have. So Ed and Zeko, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Chile is in the house.
Oh.
Do you know anyone from Chile?
No, we don't.
Might want to listen to this podcast?
No.
Some future
I
PSP
didn't know
player.
that dogs could turn on podcasts.
Oh, yeah. I hope no one tells fucking Humber that that we talk about them on our podcast. But these next two, this is where I was starting to doubt the system that YouTube must use, because number 79 and 80 are Iraq and Kuwait, and I would love it if we had listeners in Iraq and Kuwait. Maybe they're like friends of Adam Hoffman, like they're
maybe they're
on military bases.
Yeah, I
and
was gonna
stuff.
say maybe they're on military bases. But you know what? If they're not, then fucking awesome.
Yeah, no, I love it.
And reach out to us.
Yes, please. We'll Kuwait for you to do that. 81, Romania. 82, Taiwan. 83, Zimbabwe. 84, Guatemala. And this is just ridiculous. 85, Mayotte. Have you ever heard of Mayotte?
I've never heard of that. Eric, have you heard of that place?
Spell it.
Mayotte. I remember Tim Mayotte was a tennis player like 30 years ago, but Mayotte is a small island apparently between Madagascar and the Beak. So maybe our you get so excited when we talk about Mozambique. Maybe our one listener from Mozambique actually just kind of went on, like, took a rowboat out a little too far, and it showed him having listened to us from Mayotte. But so either YouTube is all fucked up, or we love our listeners from Mayotte.
Listen, seriously though, reach out to us, because we asked a while ago when we had some Nigerian listeners, and the guy emailed us, and that was awesome. So if you do listen to us in one of these countries, reach out, say hello, whether it's on YouTube, whether you email us on Twitter, whatever it is. But we like chatting with everyone, and
we'll post pictures of your flag on Twitter. We'll do research. We'll make stupid jokes, not at your expense, but yes, at your expense. And we love it. We like being worldwide.
With 85 countries, Mike, that's crazy.
I'm just wide, but our podcast is worldwide.
We are global.
Yes.
I keep reminding my wife about that, and she's not impressed.
No, I think she's busy. By next week, okay, and final prediction, Eric, by next week, will Andy be a father or not?
Oh, yes. I'm going early.
So you're going to go...
What's the due date?
May 12th.
I see her. From what I know about your wife, which is virtually nothing, she seems like the type to keep a tight schedule. So I'm going with May 11th. It'll be a day early.
All right, so you're going May 11th. I'll add these to our little calendar. Eric?
Let's go May 10th in the afternoon.
Although May 14th, is that Mother's Day? That would be cute.
Erik couldn't make his debut at my baby shower in Milwaukee because the night before he got hammered at his birthday party. And I'll tell you what, he was
food poisoning.
He was in great form. That was a good night.
Well, thank you.
And my evening last night explains why this podcast has been such shit. But speaking of which, please listen and review our podcast. Maybe not this one, but most of the other ones. And we're on YouTube, iTunes. Give us thumbs up and hands up and reviews or whatever that shit is, and we would very much appreciate it. And I think we're going to put this one to bed, Andy and Erik. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for coming on.
Right. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for finally clearing my good name.
Unified Front.
I was unhappy to do it, but good for you.
Yes, well, appreciate an honest man. Andy, you're another story. But all right, that ties it up for this week. Come on, you Gooners.